Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, our mission is, well, a bit different, maybe more challenging. We're not digging into data or politics.
Right.
Instead, we're exploring some classical wisdom literature. And it asks a really fundamental question. What truly makes someone knowledgeable? What's the real measure?
That's right. And the source material we're looking at today, it sort of flips the script on what we usually think of as expertise.
How so?
Well, it argues pretty forcefully that real knowledge isn't about, how smart you are on paper, how many facts you've memorized.
Okay.
It's about character. It's about accountability. It judges knowledge by its effect, its consequence on your inner life, not just how complicated the ideas are.
Right. So if it's not about degrees or publications, what is the benchmark then, according to this tradition?
The texts define true knowledge. Sometimes they call it inner knowing or gnosis, mainly by two things, caution and a kind of reverent fear.
Fear. That sounds intense.
Yeah, but it's not fear like being scared. It's more like understanding the weight, the gravity, the moral implications of actually knowing something significant.
Oh, okay.
If you truly know something important, it should make you more careful, more cautious in how you act, how you speak, how you engage with the world.
So knowing something deeply should lead to humility, maybe, and being careful. If it just puffs you up with arrogance, it's not the real deal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's it precisely. There's actually a line in the Holy Quran that nails this down. It says, "Only those of his servants who are possessed of knowledge fear Allah." So that sets the standard, you see. If your learning hasn't given you a deeper sense of humility, a caution about how that knowledge could be misused, well, then maybe you haven't truly learned anything vital, no matter how many letters you have after your name.
Okay, that definitely sets the stage. If caution is the measure, then what undermines it? What turns someone who should be a guide into what the source calls a ruin?
Yeah, ruin is a strong word.
It is. So our mission today is to unpack these 8 specific things the texts say can derail someone learned, destroy their potential.
And these 8 pitfalls, they're really interesting because they're all internal. They're vices that essentially twist the intellect against itself.
Internal vices.
Yeah, they show how even brilliant people can become, well, their own worst enemies. We could probably group them a bit, maybe by theme.
Good idea. Makes it easier to grasp. Where should we start?
Let's start with the ones related to, say, ego and material things, the selfish flaws.
Okay, lay those out for us.
So the first couple are greed and miserliness, basically, using knowledge just to get rich or hoard resources. And tied to that is the big one, boastfulness.
Ego.
Right. Knowledge stops being about truth and service, and it just becomes a tool for self-promotion, for getting ahead.
You see that everywhere, don't you? Intellectual property, expertise used purely for profit, sometimes totally disconnected from any kind of moral compass.
Totally.
Okay, what about the flaws in how people present themselves? The performance issues?
Yeah, this is where the internal ruin starts to affect others, to become a kind of poison. There are 3 main ones here. First, showing off and partisanship.
Yeah.
Using what you know, not to find truth or build bridges, but just to signal you're on a certain team or to attack the other side. Knowledge as a weapon in tribal warfare.
Oh, that sounds depressingly familiar. Like online debates where people just throw out facts to win, not to understand anything.
Exactly that. Then the second one is simpler, but just as damaging. Love of praise from others.
Needing applause.
Yeah. The satisfaction isn't internal, from knowing or understanding. It comes from hearing people say how smart you are. And the third in this group is particularly tricky, affectation.
Affectation. The source said something about taking excessive pains with speech just to sound impressive. How is that different from just being articulate, being a good communicator?
That's a crucial distinction, and it really comes down to intention. A good communicator wants clarity, wants to help people understand. Someone guilty of affectation wants complexity. They want admiration. They'll use jargon not because it's necessary, but because it makes them sound smart and maybe makes the listener feel a bit dumb.
I see. Like those academic papers you can barely understand, or corporate memos full of buzzwords.
Spot on. It's style over substance, designed to impress or obscure, not communicate. It creates distance.
Okay. So you've got ego, greed, performance. What are the last few dangers? These sound like they get to the core of the issue.
They really do. They're about failures in maybe self-awareness and sincerity. First, there's an intellectual boundary issue, delving into things whose reality they cannot truly reach.
What does that mean exactly?
It means knowing your limits, knowing when the tools you have, your intellect, your methods aren't sufficient for the question you're asking. accepting that some things might be beyond full human comprehension. A true scholar, this tradition suggests, knows the difference between a well-reasoned theory and, absolute certainty. The ruined person pushes past that boundary out of ego, claiming mastery over things they can't possibly fully grasp.
That takes incredible humility to admit your tools aren't big enough for the job.
It does. And the last two are really foundational, sincerity flaws. One is lack of modesty before Allah, which more broadly means a failure of reverence, of recognizing your place in the grand scheme of things. A lack of awe, maybe.
Okay.
And then the final one, the eighth vice, the one that seems to tie it all together, not acting upon what they know.
Ah, there it is. The disconnect between knowing and doing. That's where the tradition really brings the hammer down, isn't it? There's that powerful quote from the prophet Isa, Jesus, peace be upon him.
Yes, the condemnation is blunt, he said. The most wretched of all people is he who is known for his knowledge, not for his actions.
Oof. Known for knowledge, not actions.
The insight there is profound. Intellectual hypocrisy doesn't just make your knowledge useless, it actually makes you worse than someone who's ignorant. Your knowledge becomes poison when it's separated from how you live.
So all these ruins, they're basically boiled down to a failure of intention, of integrity. And that failure turns knowledge from an asset into a liability.
Well put.
But if the problem is internal, how do you fix it? You can't just, read this list and suddenly be cured of boastfulness or greed.
No, you definitely can't. The texts are clear. Fixing this requires more than just self-reflection. It demands, critically, choosing the right guides and companions.
Ah, the company you keep.
Exactly. Who you learn from, who you spend time with. It fundamentally shapes your character and how you relate to knowledge itself. It's almost impossible to cultivate humility if you're surrounded by people who celebrate arrogance.
Makes sense. So what warnings does this tradition give about choosing who we listen to? Our teachers, mentors, the people we consider experts.
There's a very specific warning from the Holy Prophet Muhammad about something called the presumptuous caller.
The presumptuous caller.
Yeah, this is basically someone who embodies those 8 ruins we just discussed, and now they actively try to spread that spiritual sickness to others.
Okay, so what happens if you fall under the influence of such a person?
The warning lists 5 specific negative shifts they'll try to create in you. They pull you in the wrong direction.
All right, let's break this down. What are these destructive shifts?
Okay, they summon you, 1, from certainty to doubt. But not healthy skepticism, more like a cynical, arrogant doubt that questions even basic truths.
Okay.
2, from sincerity to showing off. They teach you to perform your knowledge, to make it about appearances rather than genuine understanding or piety.
Right. Performance over substance again.
3, from humility to pride. They encourage you to see your knowledge as proof of your superiority over others.
Weaponizing intellect.
4, from good counsel to enmity. They turn discussions into battles, intellectual exchange into personal attacks. It becomes tribal.
Divisive.
And 5, from abstinence to desire. They shift your focus away from inner discipline or restraint towards chasing worldly rewards, power, status, wealth that your knowledge might bring.
Wow. So this presumptuous caller basically twists learning into something competitive, cynical, and ultimately damaging. They inject ego and conflict where there should be clarity and growth.
Precisely. They're like a walking, talking embodiment of the 8 ruins. But importantly, the guidance immediately flips to the positive. Who should you seek out?
The antidote, basically.
Exactly. You should draw near to the person who does the opposite, who facilitates a positive transformation. The person whose presence and teaching call you.
Okay, let's hear the positive list. From pride.
To humility. From showing off to sincerity, from doubt, back to certainty, a grounded, humble certainty.
Good.
From desire to abstinence, or at least to self-discipline, and from enmity, from that combative stance back to offering good counsel to seeking understanding.
So the true guide reverses the damage. They heal the decay caused by the wrong influences.
That's the idea. What's really striking is that the true person of knowledge isn't just defined by their own inner state, but by the positive effect they have on others. They act as a remedy.
A remedy. I like that.
Yeah, and that image is captured beautifully by Imam Ali, the commander of the faithful. He said the true guide must be like a kind, compassionate doctor who places the remedy where it will be of benefit.
Meaning?
Meaning they don't just give everyone the same lecture. They diagnose the specific problem in the student. Is it pride? Is it maybe doubt? Is it greed? And they offer advice tailored to that specific ailment. It's personalized spiritual medicine.
That really brings this whole discussion home, doesn't it? Directly to you, the listener. If we're trying to learn, to grow, to avoid these ruins ourselves, How do we spot that doctor? How do we use this ancient advice to choose our guides today? Mentors, teachers, even, dare I say, the podcasts we listen to.
Well, we can go back to that amazing exchange where Isaiah's disciples asked him, "With whom shall we sit, O Spirit of Allah?" They weren't asking about credentials or fame.
No, they were asking for a blueprint for choosing companions based on character.
Exactly.
And his answer is just perfect.
Right.
It's the checklist, right? The checklist we can use.
It really is. Isa gave this incredibly elegant three-part answer. He said, sit with the one.
Okay, let's take these one by one because they're subtle but powerful. Number one.
Sit with one, the sight of whom reminds you of Allah.
Okay, what does that actually mean in practice? It's not about outward appearance, surely, like wearing pious clothes or something.
No, definitely not. It speaks to their inner state, their demeanor. It's about their calmness, their lack of desperate self-promotion, their humility, their sense of gravity. Just being around them makes you feel a sense of seriousness about truth, about ethics. It brings to mind that higher standard, that reverent caution we started with.
So it's about how their presence affects your internal state, fosters reflection.
Okay, what's the second measure, the intellectual one?
Number two, sit with one whose speech increases you in knowledge.
Seems straightforward, but what's the nuance? The emphasis is on increase. Their words have to give you substance, real insight you can use. It's not just clever talk or that affectation we discussed. Their speech shouldn't just make you admire how smart they are. It should actually leave you smarter, more capable, more informed.
Got it. Real substance, not just performance. And the final measure. This tackles the action problem, the biggest ruin.
Yes. Number three, sit with one whose actions make you desire the next world.
Desire the next world. How does that translate?
It means their conduct, how they live their life, has to inspire you towards higher moral and spiritual goals. They don't just talk about virtue. You see it in their patience, their integrity, their generosity, maybe their detachment from petty things. Observing them makes you think, wow, that way of being is possible, it's real, and it makes you want to strive for that kind of character yourself. It makes the knowledge feel applicable, not just theoretical.
Okay, putting it all together then. What this tradition is telling us, really, is that true knowledge has to be transformative on all three levels. How it makes you reflect internally, how it actually grows your understanding, and how it inspires you to act better, to aim higher.
Exactly. It's not just about collecting information. It's about integrating it into your very being. It's a difference between being merely informed and being truly educated, in the deepest sense. One is just intellectual, the other involves your whole character.
Which brings us to a final, maybe provocative thought for you to chew on. We started with the idea that the greatest ruin is being known for knowledge, not for actions.
Yeah.
In our world today, we often rely on experts whose success is measured almost entirely externally. Wealth, fame, clicks, citations, often quite separate from their personal character or the real-world impact of their actions.
So maybe look around. Think about different fields. Maybe political punditry, parts of finance, maybe even some academic circles. Where do you see those ruins? We talked about greed, boastfulness, performing style over substance, maybe doing the most damage right now.
And more personally, when you seek out knowledge, whether it's a book, a mentor, an online source, pause and ask yourself those three questions from Isa. Does their presence inspire humility or unease? Does their speech genuinely increase your understanding or just showcase their brilliance? And do their actions, as far as you can tell, make you want to be a better person?
Considering the character of your guide, that might just be the most crucial step in the whole journey of learning.
Choose the doctor. Avoid the ruin. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into knowledge and character.